Hello. Welcome back to Merriment Mondays Live. I am your host, Mary, Uncustomary England, and this is our weekly slash bi-weekly appointment with joy, rebellion, softness, weirdness, and I'm really glad that you're here. So if you are tired or overwhelmed or feeling disconnected from yourself or happiness, you are not alone, you're not behind, you're not broken, you're not doing it wrong. You are just broadcasting from a different frequency. And today we're going to tune the dial a little bit differently together. Welcome. We are live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And you can check in wherever you are. Hello, welcome. Let's take 3 breaths together. Inhale for 4. Hold it at the top and exhale for 6. Let's do that again. Hold it and exhale for 6. Inhale for 4. Hold it at the top and exhale for 6. In one word, in the chat, tell us how you are feeling today, how you're arriving, how you're doing. And as you're doing that, I just want to let you know that there are going to be bonuses that come with this replay that go inside of my free community that's called the Positive Pulse. And you can access that at uncustomary.org/positive-pulse. Whenever I do a live Merriment Mondays, there are now these fun bonuses that come as part of it. So inside the Positive Pulse, we have about 450 people in there in just 2 months. It's great. And there's over 100 resources in there for free. It's completely free. You can access it on an app or on your computer. So the bonuses that you're getting today are a printable permission slip, a list of ways to do something, tiny actions to help you disrupt a spiral when you're not feeling good. We're going to have lists of habits to stack for your joy, to rewire your mood, and also a frequency tuner checklist to shift your state. So those are going to be things that you get for free inside the Positive Pulse when this replay goes up. Okay, so let's talk about our topic today, which is feeling good for no reason, having permission to feel good. So we've been taught that happiness and joy and even fun are rewards, something that we get after we do the work, after we have healed completely, after we achieve success or whatever our goal is. But what if fun and happiness were your starting points? What if you didn't need a reason or a clean to-do list, a clean inbox, or $1 million or a gold star in order to feel good? So let's first talk about the science behind that. So there's something called the set point theory, and this means that each of us has a genetically influenced happiness baseline. Some people are born more dispositionally disposition you're dispositioned to be more optimistic than others. And other people are more likely to just be intrinsically, biologically more melancholy. Okay. And while this is true, your baselines are also not fixed. It's not written in stone. It's not permanent. It is like a thermostat that you can nudge higher through consistent happiness habits and emotional tools. But when, if you notice things like, oh, I'm naturally a little bit lower than this person, that might be accurate. And it also might be that that person has worked really hard to get their thermostat at a naturally higher setting. There's also something called the hedonic treadmill, and this theory explains how humans tend to return to a stable level of happiness no matter what happens. So if you win the lottery, something really good happens to you, you're going to adapt. You're going to come back to where you were originally. And if you lose your job or become homeless, you're actually also going to adapt to that too. It's not that things don't affect us, they do, but it's an acute space of time that it does affect us, and we learn to get used to them. It's actually a really incredible thing about humans is our adaptability, our flexibility. The key is that you can slow this treadmill of getting back to this set point with novelty and gratitude and creativity and connection. And then we have neuroplasticity. So this is the fact that your brain physically rewires itself based on what you repeatedly do. So when you're engaging in fun and novelty and creativity and connection consistently over time, your brain becomes better at accessing those states because it becomes habitual, for lack of a better term. And this is the same way that, like, I don't know if you've ever heard the term an elephant path. Like when you see a path in the woods that's kind of been carved out through people walking on it, it's the same thing. That's what neuroplasticity is. It's just your brain getting used to doing something. So your happiness isn't really a bonus, it's a brain training technique. So when I talk about happiness habits, that's what I'm referring to. But I want to pause here for a second because I know that you might be listening and thinking like, okay, yeah, joy as a baseline sounds nice. And I also don't live there. I don't even know what that looks like. I don't have, if we're looking at a 1 to 10 scale of happiness, I feel like my intrinsic happiness level is not even at a 1. It's non-existent. And I want you to know that I don't live naturally at a high happiness level. It might seem like I do, but I do not. It is something that, one, I've had to work at extremely, extremely hard for 20 years. And it's also medication aided. I understand what it's like to not just not feel good, but feel really, really, really bad. I have a long, tangled history with depression, mania, grief, literally a dozen neurodivergences and trauma that lives in the body and shows up at the most inconvenient times. And there are days when getting out of bed feels like an Olympic event. And there are days that I question everything, not just my existence in a theoretical way, but in a tangible one. Very recently, in the past couple months, I made the decision to go off of my psych medication, everything except my sleep meds, and having some sort of anti-anxiety for panic attack medicine as a PRN. And besides the discontinuation symptoms, I started doing really well. And I was really happy with the fact that I was doing okay. I was so excited at the fact that, like, 20 years of all this therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy and trauma therapy and coping skills and making self-development and self-awareness my goal, my primary focus, had paid off. And then it started to slip. And it freaked me out. And it made me upset. And it made me very sad and grieved in this way of basically needing to come to terms with the fact that it doesn't really matter how much I know how to hype myself up, soothe myself, shift perspective, have awareness. I am biologically different. And as much as I wanted to prove all the doctors wrong who said that I I don't have any serotonin and I will never be able to be medication free, they might be right. And there's something in me that is very sad about that because it makes me wonder if the version of me on medicine is different than the one that isn't. It makes me wonder if that makes me a fraud, just not even teaching about joy, but just being a person. Like if I'm writing or making art and I'm doing that on medicine from an altered state, is that even true? Right? And if I need medication to not want to die, wouldn't I have been weeded out 100 years ago? There's a lot of grief and existential fear and doubt that comes with this realization that this is so but this could be a whole thing, but I in its own episode, I guess. But I'm just trying to explain that as much as I might seem like I have things together in certain areas, I understand. I understand what it's like to not know how to get up off the floor. I understand what it's like to want to hurt yourself and worse and to question everything. So when I come to you to teach you how to feel good, how to have fun, how to help other people, the origin of all of this is because I've seen it. I've seen the I've seen it to be possible for me. And I I know that like it's such a trite and overused phrase of like if I can do it, you can do it. But it's I feel that way. I think that if I can have so many disorders and trauma and experiences that most people wouldn't have lived through, and I can still be someone that most people would think is happy. And I am a lot of the time. I am happy a lot of the time. And I just want to be like very real about the fact that it is something you work towards. And a lot of people will have to work towards harder. Your baseline might be at a 1, but that doesn't mean we can't get it to a 7. You might never be able to get it to a 10, and you might have more fluctuation than the average person, but it is not immovable. It is possible to improve anything. Nothing is impossible, nothing is immovable, nothing is permanent. And I just want you to understand that when I talk about things that seem flighty or frivolous, it's because like I know that it works. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I was just going to say like the assumption, I guess, is that because I teach joy, I wake up in glitter and stay there all day. But I teach this because I need it and because I had to build it. And for most people, that will be the case, especially if you're coming to me. You're going to have to build it and you're going to have to keep it built and maintain it. And it's not what you want to hear. You want to hear that you have to do like one big thing and find that weird, unique thing that works for you. And then you're fixed and you don't ever have to do anything. You just like get a mansion that you move into and then if somebody else pays the property taxes forever and then you're set. But the reality is that no, like you have to build the house from the ground up and then you have to pay the property taxes and you have to maintain the plumbing and all of these things. Like that's your happiness house. And it can be as big as you want, but you still have to maintain it. And to be completely honest, like, I don't know, I just, I, I did not ever come out of the womb singing cheerful songs. My disposition has always been darker. So I came out skeptical. I came out a little sad, and then it got worse. And I'm braced for impact. And I've learned that when I stay still for too long, when I isolate, when I go quiet, when I sit on the couch for too long, my mind doesn't throw me a party. It throws me into a spiral. So what helps me is doing, making, moving, and being of service. So I think sometimes joy and happiness and fun don't start as feelings, they start as motion. And that's okay. It's like how sometimes when you are kind, it ends up making you feel good. Like it sometimes it's just a means to an end. Let it be what it is. Motion before motivation. Let that be the thing. Action before hope. Start moving and then let your happiness feelings catch up to you. And I'm really enjoying Dan Cummins as a comedian, and he said something that made me laugh and think. And it's funny because I'm always this devil's advocate and looking at all sides of things, and I believe that the thing that makes you the best is also sometimes your kryptonite. So in the way that I'm able to see all perspectives, sometimes that means that I can lack the ability to form an opinion or have a conviction or know what my rules are. So it's just another tangent. I'm all over the place today. It's all right. Um, so I'm just saying I see both sides of this Dan Cummins joke, which is something that made me laugh and made me think. And he joked about how modern day anxiety and depression and mental health issues are obviously real. And also, they are quite indulgent. Like, we have gotten to a part of our society where we, we it's it gets easier to notice the things that are wrong, like when less is wrong. When you can DoorDash stuff to your anything to your house, then it becomes easier to notice the other things that are wrong. I don't know if that I'm saying that well or if it makes sense, but the better society becomes, the easier it is to create existential issues. Like hundreds of years ago, people weren't really having as many existential thoughts and um, anxiety issues because it was more about survival, right? And the joke that I'm referencing with Dan Cummins is he's talking about like uh, a farmer having a journal entry that says, "Dear Diary, Margaret is furious with me for not helping with the wheat harvest. I explained that I would love to, but my anxiety is through the roof. The wheat provides me no satisfaction anyhow due to my gluten sensitivity." And like, the thing is that both are true, right? Like, there was probably a farmer that had horrible anxiety, and there were probably way less people with that because we've gotten to a point where so many things environmentally are influencing this. And like I just explained that my biological disposition is to not even want to be here, right? And so like I'm not discounting that this is real. There are people like this. I just I don't know. I think it's both sides can be true. Like, how can we acknowledge the fact that some of us are going to have biological things that are difficult as a disability, just as a starting point. That's our baseline. And how can we use what is available to us to not let ourselves become victims from it? How can we use what is available to us to move through it and use our knowledge and apply it to action to make the most of what we have while we have it, even if it's different, even if it's not what we expected or what someone else has. And for me, that's right now in this moment, admitting that I need to take medication. Like, in order to do the things that I want to do, I'm going to need to take medication. And it sucks. And in the grand scheme of things, it's lucky. It's not a bad thing. It's amazing that the medication exists. It's amazing that I can afford it. It's amazing that I live in a place where it's accessible. It's amazing that that's the thing like that I'm dealing with, right? Like, it's not bad. And I'm allowed to be upset about it too. Like, that joke, the Dan Cummins joke, is dark, but the truth is that we can hold both, right? That I believe in making room for the real grief. Like, I also get to just believe that we get to decide how long we stay in the spiral. Some days I need to be in the spiral. I need softness, I need stillness, and like I need to explain that this just hurts. I don't want advice. I just want to say that this sucks. And other days I need to get my ass up and go give a stranger a sticker and remind myself that I am on a ball spinning in outer space. And this is so weird. But I don't think that we're fragile. I think that we're tired. And feeling good doesn't mean ignoring what hurts. It means making space for something else to exist alongside of it. So maybe today we can try on a belief that isn't necessarily true all the time, but is useful right now. A belief that helps us rise up out of the spiral of doom, even just for a few minutes. So I mentioned the baseline. I'm going to give you a couple ways that you could shift your baseline today. So one is to celebrate something that has no milestone, meaning like throw yourself a dance party for nothing. You did nothing. There's nothing to earn. You didn't earn anything. You didn't achieve anything. You didn't create any sort of success. You did nothing. And now you're going to celebrate something by maybe having a dance party or maybe actually buying yourself something or giving yourself a gold star. But giving yourself something without needing to have done something. Your brain doesn't care if the celebration is valid. It is just going to still process those chemicals that are coming as a result of that feel good process. The second thing is a novelty trigger. Novelty is so important as it relates to joy. So sometimes this is just like a really simple example is wearing your shirt backwards. And maybe that doesn't feel good to you, but it can also be going on a different route for a walk or taking a walk because you don't usually do that, or sitting in a different direction, sitting in a different chair, wearing a different color. Like, it's just little things can create novelty. And especially if you're not doing anything different and you're really stuck in a rut, then just a little tiny thing is going to work. And you don't need to go all in to create the hit that novelty is giving you for dopamine. The next thing that you can do is to act like this is the first or last time that you're doing something. So taste your food like it's the first time you're eating. Do it like you're a child. Slowly sit down and eat like you're experiencing the pleasure of eating and telling your nervous system that it's safe to do this. Imagine that you're like an alien that's just coming and eating this for the first time. Or imagine that it's your last meal. Either way, you're going to process the sensory stimulus in a different, more savor-based way. The next thing you can do is ask someone for a story instead of an update. So a lot of times, like when we talk, just like our general jargon and communication style, we'll say like, "Oh, what's up? Anything new with you?" A kind of a very open-ended kind of question. But what you could do is say like, something more specific that's going to prompt a story, such as, what's something weird that made you laugh this week? Did you see anyone do anything strange on the street? Did any customers have an interesting outfit that you saw at work? So creating more specific prompts for your conversations and connection can help create more interesting dynamics in connection. And it also helps your brain. Um, okay, another thing that you can do is just a 5-second anchor for happiness. So pick a physical action like tapping your chest a couple times and start associating that with something positive. So the other side of this as an example to understand it would be if you are trying to process something negative, you might do it by holding a stuffed animal, right? So you're kind of like collaborating the thing that's painful with something positive so that it doesn't feel as painful anymore, right? So what you can do is kind of like Pavlov, where if you know anything about that famous experiment, you know, you can snap and then the dog will salivate, right? It was a bell, but like you tap your chest twice or snap your fingers or run your fingers through your hair. And then as you do that, think of something that makes you feel good and do that like a couple times a day. And then over time, what will happen is that you only need to do the physical action to experience the feeling. Now, in order to really get there, I would recommend like really starting to go into it. So, meaning think about that emotion, think about that memory, and close your eyes and spend 5 minutes or so imagining, like, okay, that's what it looked like. That's what it tasted like. That's what it smelled like. That's what I saw. Turn up the color, expand the TV set that you can see. And if you don't process things, if you have like aphasia or you don't process things as visually, then write down and list out as many things as you can in terms of the details and the feelings and the emotions. Because really what we're after are the feelings, but the details can help trigger the feelings. Okay. And whether you're here or watching the replay, let's check in and just tell us something, a little weird thing that you love doing just because it feels good. Okay. Now let's talk about the fact that you don't need to deserve fun. So there's this idea in the self-help industry that we do, and I don't even think it's exclusive to self-help. I think it's capitalism. I think it's just where we are in our world that we need to earn our happiness, to earn our rest, to earn being soft. And that I don't think is real happiness. It's capitalism in a cute outfit, maybe. And I want to reframe this idea, this concept using an idea from Derek Sivers. And he says, some beliefs aren't true, but they're useful. So maybe the belief that you have to hustle to be worthy isn't objectively true. In fact, nothing is objectively true. Nothing is objectively good or evil. We just have opinions and preferences and states. But maybe the belief that you have to hustle to be worthy helped you to survive, right? It helped you to make money to pay your rent that time that you were going to get evicted. Maybe it gave you structure or drive, or it helped you learn a bunch of things. That's cool. That's great. Now I want you to ask, is it still useful? Or is it time to retire it or change it or evolve it? Nothing is objectively true. So why not choose the belief that lets you feel good now? So you could try things on like, fun is how I connect to my power. Fun is how I show up for my kids. Fun is the frequency I use for leadership. Fun is how I'm recovering from trauma. Fun is how I make the most money. So this is a way to rewire your beliefs. And you can write this in your notebook. You can write this in the chat. A belief I have outgrown is, or, and then maybe a belief I'm choosing instead is. So what was something that was helpful for you before, but isn't useful for you anymore. And it's not, I don't know, I think choosing a belief now that isn't, that you know isn't true even, we can call it delusional, we can call it manifesting, we can call it even toxic positivity. I don't care. I think it's truly active authorship in writing your own story. Also, feeling good doesn't always look like being hyper and exuberant and being bouncy. Sometimes being happy is stillness, it's peace, it's slowness, it's sacred. And I think that one of the biggest things that at its core influences longevity, long-term happiness is our ability to have mortality awareness. When I look at the people who have the most depth, the most joy, the most perspective, the most success even, these are people who understand that their life is temporary and they are aware of it. And not in a morbid way, but in a way that allows them to feel motivated. Mortality awareness is not morbid, it's motivating. When we realize our time here is limited, the small things get both really big, really fast, and they stop mattering. It becomes really easy to be like, oh, well, like, I don't know. I think that there's two ways to look at the same situation. Well, in anything, but in specifically, when you're out at night and you look up at the stars and you see how vast it is and you think about space and your mind kind of stops working at a certain point when you think about how large everything is, how vast it is, and your place in all of it. And then what will happen for most people is that you'll feel overwhelmed and insignificant, right? We'll all get there. But what happens is you will either say, oh my God, I am so insignificant and this is overwhelming. So fuck it. And I can't do this. I don't matter. Like there's no point to any of this. What's the point? Like and it becomes this negative thing. It becomes disempowering and too overwhelming in a negative way. And then the other side is, oh my God, how crazy is it that this is what's happened? That I am part of all of this, that I am a part of this very long line, and that I am a very tiny blip, even just in human existence, let alone one galaxy inside of so many others. And while that is daunting and overwhelming to my brain, and I do understand that things mean a little bit less somehow, I don't feel disempowered by it. I actually feel liberated by it. I feel like if nothing matters, so to speak, then I am free. If all of this is so big, then it doesn't matter if someone doesn't like my shirt, you know? It doesn't matter how much I weigh. It doesn't matter what I do for a living. This is all free. It's all a miracle. It's all love. It's all anything. It's all nothing. And in that way, I believe in like positive nihilism. And that mixed with mortality awareness of the fact that we are temporary, at least in this specific life that we understand, I believe will create the most amount of perspective, success, and joy for you if you can get there. But what happens is we avoid all of it. The opposite of mortality awareness is avoidance, and that steeps itself into other aspects of your life. So if you're avoiding your own mortality, you're also probably avoiding other things in your life, like preparing for the end of your life, like preparing for finances, preparing for housing, preparing for retirement, and preparing for relationships and stuff. And it becomes easier to just like put things back behind a cupboard and not look at it because like you don't have to deal with it. But when you are motivated by your own impermanence, it's like, well, no, I don't know how long I have, so I'm going to make this count. And this meaning this moment, this day, this everything. So practice pretending. This is the last time I'll eat this food. This is the last time I'll see this sky. This is the last time I'll hug this person. And it's not to scare you, it's to wake you. Because what I'm saying is not untrue. It is true. It's something we avoid. And I think that the most alive people understand that their aliveness is temporary and it is liberating. So 3 ways to practice this embodiment are eating is really good. When you're eating, try to savor it instead of consume just once a day, even if it's just one bite of the meal. When you're in public, you can tell every person that you see in your mind, I adore you, or I appreciate you. And you can just say it in your head and just feel it. And then the third thing is that you can take 30 seconds, just like once a day, and scan for sensory details. So what do you hear? What do you smell? What do you feel on your skin? So that's a pretty basic 101 mindfulness exercise. And it's also like something to be reminded that you even have access to these tools, to these abilities. I'm reminded daily that my boyfriend, Matt, does not have the ability to smell. He has congenital anosmia, I never say it right. He's never smelled a thing in his life. Isn't that wild? It's just like being blind for smell, and there's someone out there everywhere who lacks a certain ability, and if you have it, use it. I heard something recently that a woman said, we are all temporarily abled. And even if that means in the last moment of it's just like the time that you lose it all is when you die, we're all going to lose it all at some point. Maybe it's a specific function that will stop. Maybe you've already lost something or it's changed or evolved, but we are all only temporarily abled, if only in life. And again, mortality awareness, it is so helpful. There's actually a full mortality awareness avoidance to acceptance masterclass inside of the Merriment Maker's Vault. It's a good one. Okay. Now I want to talk about so in the tarot, the first card is the one that I like the most, and it's usually called the Fool. But I had this deck, and it was like inspired by David Bowie, and the artist like called it the Sacred Clown. And I was hosting a mixer recently, and one of the people who came to the mixer had been a clown for many years. They were even featured on Tosh.0. It was very cool. And I started thinking about clowning and how it's actually quite close to merriment making in so many ways. I want to do like a whole uh, class on it, maybe. The ethos is so similar. I actually also want to maybe take clowning classes myself, but the language of calling the Fool the first card in that tarot deck, the Sacred Clown, was interesting to me, and I remembered that, and I looked it up, and different books will have different explanations of what each thing means because everything's up for interpretation always. And I enjoyed the description that they wrote in this David Bowie book. And it was talking about how like the Sacred Clown isn't here to entertain. They're here to disrupt. And they're truth tellers in a costume. And they hold grief and silliness in the same breath. And I realized that I don't know why I never connected that the fool, this archetype, which is really just what the tarot is like, right? It's just like archetypes. But when they use this language of the sacred clown, I realized that it's the trickster. The trickster. And that's something that I'm obsessed with. I'm obsessed with the archetype of the trickster. The tricksters tell the truth and they mess stuff up and they dress up and they lie and they play and they're silly and they hold two coexisting ideas at once constantly. And that's me. And that's me. And that's what I'm here to do for you. In the Lakota tradition, the Hyoka clown walks backwards and he rides a horse the wrong way and he says the opposite of what he means. And the point of all of it is to wake people up, to shake off complacency. My original intention with merriment making, the bottom thorough thread line, is to get people off autopilot, truly. And I think that as merriment makers, we are the sacred clowns of our generation, that our mischief, our rebellion, our fun is our medicine. It's our truth. It's our remedy. You know, if trauma can injure and hurt, then I think that fun and play and mischief can heal. You know, your frequency, I've been thinking a lot about frequency, and you'll find out why in 2 days, is your energetic setting, right? It's very hokey, very abstract. But I want you to think about it like a personal radio signal, if you can remember that far back. Again, I've been talking a lot about radios and frequencies and things of that nature. And even people just 10 years younger than me have no clue what I'm talking about. It's very vintage and retro. I didn't realize how I just was right on the cusp as a millennial, understanding so many analog-based tech things. So on a radio, there was a dial and you would tune into the different stations. So you could figure out exactly where you wanted to go. And the thing is that like 106.5 would be a radio station and then maybe 107.3, but all of the stations weren't claimed the way that like all websites aren't claimed. Like maybe there's uncustomary.org, but there's not uncustomary.net, right? Um, and there were only a certain amount of numbers. But if there wasn't something claimed, you would get the static in between, right? And sometimes you could actually get, if you were in between 106.5 and 107.3, you maybe sometimes you'd hear a little bit of both. It was weird. But you get to tune it. You're in charge of the dial. And not only do you get to decide which station you're tuning into and clarify the how tuned in you are, but you get to decide the content of what's coming out of your station. Are you going to be a shock jock? Are you going to do only classical music? Are you going to do like talk radio? Are you broadcasting scarcity or celebration? Are you tuned into obligation and people pleasing or curiosity of what could be? What station are you accidentally stuck on that you're like, I need to stop listening to this crap? So, what are some questions that you could ask yourself, like in this metaphor of the radio? What are you listening to today? What do you want to listen to today? What have you been listening to that you want to turn off? What DJ are you spending time with? What are you choosing to notice? What do you need less of? What do you need more of? What makes you feel the most like you? That idea of the most like you, I think in conjunction with the concept of autopilot, getting off of autopilot is really, you know, what the other thing that I'm here to do is to figure out. I think for a long time, I thought that doing that helping you feel the most like you was maybe with giving you more tools, teaching you, showing you modalities and lessons, and teaching you through different lenses of how to love yourself. Here are 10 ways to love yourself. Here are activities to try. Here are challenges and master classes and tapping and guided meditations and breath work. And all of those things are really good and they have their place. And I'm never getting rid of them. And that's why the vaults are there, and they're there. And I'm proud of every single thing in there. And there's thousands of things, and they're always going to be there. And what I've realized in the past year is kind of what I always knew, which is very meta of what I'm trying to say here, is that we don't need more. We never needed more. We don't need more modalities or more tools or more workshops or workbooks or journaling prompts to figure out who we are. We just need to listen. We need to listen to who we are. We need to listen to our intuition. We need to trust our frequency. We need to understand that the problem, the reason that we're unhappy, disconnected, unsatisfied, is because we've taken on too many modalities, because we've listened to too many theories and ethos, because we've tried on too many hats. That's why we're fucked. That's why we need to strip it back down. The audacity that you think you have advice to give to your 8-year-old self is wild. I thought for years that I did. The only thing I can give her is love. What we need is to ask them, what can you tell me? And that is what this new project is. It's not more, it's less. It's tuning back in. So today's the 2nd, June 2nd. On June 4th, you'll find out. And if you're in the Positive Pulse, you'll get a special. Okay, one more thing to talk about before I wrap up. So, fun as rebellion. Catherine Price has a great book called The Power of Fun. And she calls fun a form of rebellion against burnout. Couldn't agree more. Fun reconnects us to our agency, to connection, to aliveness. And I want you to also think about how you could be relentless about fun, like elite athlete level of fun, of having fun, of making fun a priority. I was reading the book Relentless by Tim Grover, and he highlights his work with basketball elites like Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan is very unique. He dedicated every waking moment to becoming the best. Not great, but the best in the world. He was famous in a way that people weren't famous before the internet. It's wild. And it was all based on how amazing he was at his craft. So I'm not asking you to become famous for having fun, but I want you to just like, what would 1% of that look like? What if you trained at fun like an athlete? What would that be? Like have a warm up, right? Like you stretch and you run around, have a playlist that makes you feel unbeatable. And then maybe you have a signature move, like people dunk on baskets or whatever. Maybe you have a daily ritual that's part of your identity as your fun anchor, your fun marker. Maybe you wear neon or a specific ring or you blow bubbles, or you use a specific art supply or something. That's your signature move. And then there's that, Michael shoots from the back of the court, the 3-point shot. That's like the different thing that you can do in basketball. So then maybe the 3-point shot is 3 things that you do, 3 moments or 3 minutes of play, 3 moments that you hit every day, or 3 minutes that you hit every day that you are committed to doing every single day. And this is like, we could call this spiritual fitness, play fitness, fun fitness is good. So what's something that you could do, a habit that would make you feel like you're approaching fun, like an athlete, a pro level Olympic athlete for fun, being relentless for fun fitness? I think it's a fun exercise, pun intended. Okay, so that's what I have for you today. Feeling good is not a luxury, it is a portal. And you do not need a reason to feel good. You know, you don't need permission. And I think that what do I want to say about this more? I think really the things that we get stuck on in terms of needing to feel like we need permission to have fun are tied up in those words that I repeat a lot about feeling like we need to be appropriate and adult and professional. And those can kind of block us from getting in the way of having fun because we're worried that it's not good enough, right? And then also maybe that it kind of goes along with that, but that we're too weird, right? And I think that it's just another angle of we're being too childish or strange, not adult, not appropriate, not professional. And also going along with that, like these milestones that we need to celebrate, like if it's not appropriate to do this during this time frame, like you're celebrating and you're having this dance party, or you're wearing this outfit, or you're you know doing whatever, but it's not your birthday, it's not a wedding, it's not graduation, Hallmark doesn't make a card for this. What are you doing? You're being frivolous, you are wasting your time, this is unimportant. And you get to decide what is important in your life. You also get to decide that life and death coexist constantly. I think something else that gets in our way in terms of feeling like we don't have permission to feel good, to have fun, is that there are current events, that there are tragedies, that people are experiencing grief. There's actually an entire lesson on this that goes in conjunction with my second book, which is available in my app in the Positive Pulse. So each chapter, it's not just the chapter, you get the writing, you get the audio, and then there's also like tapping and a coaching additional supplemental lesson and things to do and all these things. It's really great. And you can buy each chapter a la carte. And this is in the celebrating lesson. But the supplemental lesson in that was about how we often feel guilt about celebrating when something's happening in the world. And throw a rock and pick a month of the year, of any year at any time, and there has been something going on globally that you could make an argument that it would be inappropriate to celebrate your birthday, even. If you want to do that, you can make that argument. And you are not privy to everything that's happening. We have become more privy to things that are happening globally. And that creates more guilt. But does that mean that you don't get to have fun? That you don't get to enjoy your life? You can make that decision. Again, nothing is objectively true, good, or bad. There are preferences, there are opinions, there are morals, there are values. But my opinion is that Every time someone's born, someone dies. And if we are going to understand that that is true, then you must always be in a state of mourning. Like, if you're going to mourn, and that you can't celebrate the baby being born because someone also died down the hall in the same hospital. But if you can understand that you can grieve the person who died and celebrate the baby being born, then you can also celebrate your life while tragedy is occurring. And if there is something that you are passionate about, that you are good at helping with, then do that also. And it doesn't need to take away from you celebrating. And it doesn't need to take away from you being angry. And while we're on this, it also doesn't mean that you have to do everything and that you have to help in every single way. People are unique and they are equipped to help in different ways. And as long as you are helping, that's what matters. Some people will help with money. Some people will help with time. Some people will help with this cause and not this cause. And that does not make them a bad person. It means that they're helping in a different way. Some people are good at social stuff. Some people are good at finances. Some people are good at organization. Some people are good at events. It doesn't matter. But the concept of merriment making is feel good to do good. We learn how to love ourselves. We learn what we're good at. And then we go spread joy back into the community through kindness, altruism, advocacy, and authenticity. And I believe that if you only feel good and you keep that to yourself and you don't go spread back, then you have failed, essentially, as a human. Because if you have the resources and you're not sharing and spreading them, then you are being selfish. I do believe that. But I don't believe that there's a right or wrong way to spread them. And if you care about this thing and someone else isn't caring about that thing, you don't get to judge them. You don't, because you don't know what they're doing that you're not doing either. As long as we're helping, that's what matters. So that came from feeling like we can't celebrate and feel good because something bad is happening. And you know what? Something bad is always happening. In your life, in your neighbor's life, in the world, you get to feel good regardless. In fact, if you don't, it will make it harder for you to help. When you are down and you hurt and you can't move because you are in so much pain, how are you going to help? It doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense, right? Feel good to do good. Fill your cup first so that it overflows. It must go in that order. It just must. So we don't need a reason to feel good. We don't need to follow social norms. We don't need to listen when other people don't understand. We don't need to worry that something makes sense, that something follows a calendar, that something is appropriate, timely, professional, adult enough, common enough. These are all abstract concepts. They're not objective, they're relative, and you get to decide. And if you spend your entire life waiting for permission and basing your behavior on expectations that were created by somebody else who has adopted those expectations from someone in a previous generation, and that person did so from a previous generation, and you find out that the only reason that they did that was because they had to make it up as they went, what have we done except wasted our very small existence? Very small window to make an effort, to make a change, to experience the wonders of this world. If you started now or at birth to try to see every single street that this world has to offer, you would fail simply due to the mass amount of experiences that there are, the mass amount of streets. If you tried to watch every TV show from now until the end of time, you would fail because of the mass amount of it. We are overwhelmed with options. So do not let someone else's ideas limit you in experiencing what you want and how you want. you get to feel good. And you get to figure out how that works for you. And the best way to do that is to strip out the noise. Fuck what you heard for years and ask your 8-year-old self what they would do every day, over and over, because you don't have advice for them. They have advice for you. And what they have to tell you is fucking priceless. And if you like that line of thinking, please stay tuned on June 4th. Okay, you have full permission to be offensively fun, to stop waiting, and to become the sacred clown of your own life. I will see you inside of Positive Pulse, our free community with over 100 free resources and counting, with about 450 people in just the first 2 months. And like I said, there are bonuses that come with this replay. You're going to get that permission slip printable. And there's like three other things. What were they? The do something list, tiny actions to disrupt a spiral when you don't feel good, mini joy habit stack, tiny shifts to rewire your mood, and a frequency tuner checklists of ways to shift your state. Okay, I will see you in there. Come join the chat. Come check out the future events. We've got Operation Merriment coming up June 25th. We're going to do happy signs on the side of the street. If you're in Baltimore, please come hang out with us. And our virtual mixer that you can join from anywhere in the world is coming up on June 17th. That's only $5, and it's in the evening on a weekday, so you can come hang out for a couple hours and meet new friends. And oh, and then this weekend, I'm going to be at Hamden Highlights Festival. I'm the Merriment and Arts Director, so I'm going to have some interactive art up that's in Hamden on Saturday, all day, 11 to 7. I'm going to be doing a bubble parade after the vow renewal ceremony, and that's going to be fun. And let's see, Matt's birthday is tomorrow. And then the day after that is the beginning of this new project. And I'm basically going to be putting all of my energy into the Positive Pulse and that new project. I'm simplifying. So stay tuned for the email on Wednesday, and I will see you very soon. Okay. Bye-bye, my beautifuls. You got to feel